Now first up, we have that Kendrick claimed that Drake uses ghostwriters for songs, which is a pretty big accusation to level at someone if they haven't already admitted it. But unfortunately for Drake, this seems to be more fact than fiction, because several of his former ghostwriters have spoken out against him. Quentin Miller is a ghostwriter who is credited on a multitude of songs from Drake's 2015 mixtape. If you're reading this, it's too late. Now, he also claimed that he has not been compensated for his work on the project. The revelation was made during an interview with Vlad TV, where Miller explained his sketchy publishing deal with the rapper, where he never received a publishing check for his work on the mixtape. In the interview, he said that it was a horrible situation and he had to feed his family off getting paid under the table. And sadly, he couldn't get out of that deal until 2020. The Atlanta artist was exposed by Meek Mill during the summer of 2015 while Meek was beefing with Drake. Now, the feud eventually led to Drake releasing Charged Up and Back to Back, which essentially ended the fight, but clearly there's still plenty of rumors floating around that Drake doesn't write his own stuff. Next, we have to talk about his relationship with Millie Bobby Brown. As we know, the Stranger Things actress has become entangled in the latest Drake and Kendrick feud that has been ongoing for the past several weeks. Kendrick unleashed a barrage of diss tracks like 616 in LA, which mocked Drake's personal life and his focus on topping the charts. Next, his track Euphoria referenced the TV show that Drake produces. Then came Meet the Grams, which took a much sharper turn, targeting his son and his family life. Now obviously, Drake wasn't about to stay silent. He hit back with the track Family Matters, turning tables on Kendrick. Just a day later though, he dropped The Heart Part 6, where he name-dropped Millie Bobby Brown in his song, responding to claims that he was a creep. While Kendrick did accuse him of that gross behavior, he never referenced a person that he was entangled with. This is why when Drake replied, stating that he had never touched Millie Bobby Brown, the internet erupted. It was almost like he admitted something that he didn't need to, because obviously fans have been worried about their relationship for quite some time, and the whole thing is really weird, so it's no wonder it didn't sit right with a lot of people. Moving on to all the hypocrisy with Drake and using AI. He posted one of his diss tracks called Tailor Made Freestyle on his Instagram, which features AI-generated voices of Tupac Shakur and Snoop Dogg. The fake Shakur says that Kendrick should defend West Coast hip-hop and his name, while the fake Snoop urges Kendrick to release a response faster. Now, the whole thing was very bizarre, but the reference was pretty clear. Kendrick famously claimed that he was visited by Tupac in his dreams. He said, "It's a real situation where I was sleeping one night and a silhouette came and he said, 'Keep doing what you're doing, don't let my music die.'" So Drake was making fun of that infamous quote. But he then deleted the song pretty quickly after Tupac's estate threatened legal action. And it was all a bit hypocritical, considering he's been very outspoken about using AI. Now, this track called Heart on My Sleeve blew up on TikTok last year before it got completely removed from the internet. It sounded like Drake was rapping, but it was actually created with AI. Now, the song has a scratchy, low-quality vibe, and the vocals are sometimes slurred and glitchy, but the general consensus is that it was a total banger, so it's sad that it got removed from the internet. Then it's been made clear that there's some sort of leak in Drake's team and that he can't trust anybody. Why? Well, when Kendrick put out Meet the Grams, the cover art is a photo of Drake's belongings and was most likely taken from inside his own house. Now that is just insane. It was filled with receipts and prescription drugs, including the weight loss drug Ozempic, which Drake has been accused of taking. Now, there's also some pretty other shady things on there too, but you'll have to do your own research into that, as we have to follow this site's guidelines. Now, the cover art wasn't the only shocking thing though. In the song, Lamar addresses his verses to Drake's son Adonis and Drake's parents. "Dear Adonis, I'm sorry that man is your father," he bluntly opens the track, and he also dedicated a verse to Drake's alleged 11-year-old daughter, who would be the second child the rapper has kept hidden from the public. Drake, however, was quick to jump on Instagram and shut down the claim that he had a secret daughter. Then Drake's music label stepped in. It's been alleged from an insider that Drake's label wants this feud to stop. They said PG Lang Kendrick and EXO The Weeknd were asked by Universal Music Group UMG to end the beef with OVO Drake. Now Kendrick apparently isn't budging at all, but UGM is pressing hard on their request to squash the beef. UGM also had a Zoom meeting with all the parties involved, and they want Kendrick either directly or said through PG Lang to post a statement clarifying that Drake isn't a lover of the young, if you get what I mean. Drake is losing the beef in UGM's eyes, so from UGM's perspective, the sooner this beef ends, the better. The accusations directed at Drake are costing UMG, Nike, and other parties a lot of money. Now, the fact that they even had to step in is just embarrassing. Now, this beef has turned into something that is life-threatening though. Now, this feud has been taken up a level as someone drove past Drake's house in Toronto and shot his security guard. Police said suspects in a vehicle shot the guard at the corner of the Park Lane Circle mansion around 2 AM before fleeing the scene. Now, it remains unclear if Drake was home at the time the incident occurred or whether he was a target of the shooting. Police said it was too early in their investigation to speak about a motive, but they said, "We are in contact with Drake's team and they are cooperating." It said that the police are currently assessing video that captures the shooting, but is not releasing information about it due to video quality issues. The victim is in hospital and is in serious condition, they added. Now, witnesses told Canadian media that he had sustained several wounds, including one to the chest. Now, their beef has gotten extremely personal, but violence is never the answer. Okay, so now on to some non-related Kendrick beef secrets. In October 2014, TMZ reported that a stripper going by Johnny Blaze filed a police report after allegedly receiving threats from Drake and his entourage after she slept with the rapper. She claimed that Drake believed that she was going to speak publicly about her hookup with him and sent her angry text messages, and several of his associates began banging on her door at her home and threatening her life. Now, Drake's team denied the allegation, and days later, Blaze somewhat backpedaled on her claims, saying that she never actually called the police on Drake specifically because my friend came home and she said that 2 guys said that they were looking for me. So I documented that for my protection, and for some odd reason people were calling me loony. We were just supposed to be friends and we had some disagreements, some things were said and some threats were being made as far as argument, and that was it. Now, she added that she leaked text messages between them to prove that they were in fact in contact because people were accusing her of lying about knowing him personally, and she denied that she ever bashed him. She said that she believed that the threat she received after her encounter with Drake may have just been a coincidence. Next, we have his relationship with Rihanna. Drake and Rihanna were first linked in May 2009 when Page Six reported that the pair were spotted kissing at a Lucky Strike bowling alley in New York City. However, they both denied any romance rumors and insisted they were just friends. However, in Drake's song Fireworks, he dropped major hints that there was more to the story. He would later tell the New York Times that Rihanna essentially played him and broke his heart, whining, "You know what she was doing to me, she was doing exactly what I've done to so many women throughout my life, which is show them quality time, then disappear. I was like, wow, this feels terrible," he said. Sources then told Life and Style that Rihanna caught Drake sending some rather sketchy texts with other women while they were dating in 2016. The magazine reported that one of these women was Dakota Gonzalez, an Instagram model, while Gossip claimed that he was also seeing another Instagram model, India Love, while he was supposedly dating Rihanna. Now we have his secret son. In May 2017, TMZ reported that former adult star Sophie Brazo claimed that she was pregnant with Drake's child and that Drake told her to terminate the pregnancy. Now, his rep denied it, saying in a statement, "This woman has a very questionable background. She has admitted to having multiple relationships. We understand she may be having problems getting into the United States. She is one of the many people claiming he got them pregnant." However, the rep also added that Drake would handle his business properly if he was proven to be the child's father, and TMZ reported in late May 2018 that Drake had been sending Sophie money since just before the birth of her son, Adonis, and that he believes he may be the father but is awaiting a DNA test to prove his paternity. Now, Drake's potential paternity was never made too public until Pusha T released a diss track, The House of Adion, in May 2018, which referenced Adonis and Sophie by name. And then we have the bottle throwing. In June 2012, Drake and Chris Brown reported reportedly got into a bottle-throwing bar fight in a New York City nightclub, WIP. Now, Chris's face was injured, as were members of Drake and Chris's respective entourages, and even innocent bystanders who were just trying to enjoy a night out. Now, the club also suffered significant property damage from the incident, with a lot of broken glass and furniture, as well as scratches on the floor from shattered glass. Now, a club prompter who was at WIP at the night of the incident claimed that Chris sent a bottle of champagne to Drake, who returned it with a vulgar note about Rihanna, with whom Chris had been in a volatile on-again, off-again relationship. However, TMZ reported that Drake started the drama when he started screaming at Chris from his side of the VIP section. Now, the pair both left the scene before cops arrived and denied any wrongdoing, though Drake's team tried to pin the issue on Meek Mill, and neither of them faced any charges. Starting off, we have lying about writing a song. In a 2008 interview with Marie Claire UK, Beyoncé implied that some of the lyrics to her 2006 single, Irreplaceable, weren't actually aimed at Jay-Z. But then controversy arose over the writing credits on Irreplaceable. Now, singer-songwriter Ne-Yo told MTV apparently Beyoncé was at a show somewhere, and right before the song came on she said, "I wrote this for all my ladies," and then the song came on. The song is a co-write, I wrote the lyrics, I wrote all the lyrics. Beyoncé helped me with the melodies and the harmonies and the vocal arrangement, and that makes it a co-write. Meaning my contribution and her contribution made the song what it is. Now, in 2011, Ne-Yo said he wrote the song for himself, but thought that it would be better suited for Beyoncé. Now, some of Beyoncé's fans read Ne-Yo's remarks as disrespectful towards her. However, he clarified his comment later through Twitter, writing, "I said I originally wrote the song for me. Once I realized how the song comes across if sung by a guy, that's when I decided to give it away." Next up is the tone-deaf performance. Beyoncé took part in a 9/11 memorial concert in New York City, but many people believe her performing her song Diva was in poor taste and wonder why she didn't get cancelled. In the track she says, "No passengers on my plane," as well, "This is a stick-up," which she fiercely sang in front of the families of 9/11 victims while putting her arms out like an airplane. The crowd got quiet back there, with someone noting under the YouTube's clips comments, "The literal buildings on the screen falling down, WTF," referring to the set's backdrop. Now, a Redditor also wrote, "But how is this the first time I've heard of this? This is genuinely one of the more tone-deaf performances I've seen. Who greenlit this?" Now, a commenter said that Jay-Z was to blame as he produced the concert, but yeah, that's just not a good look at all. Then there's Nothing Happened in the Elevator. In 2014, security footage was released of Solange attacking her brother-in-law Jay-Z in an elevator at a Met Gala after-party. Now, Beyoncé was there as well, stuck between her sister and her husband, but chose not to intervene and stood there as the two duked it out. Now, the family attempted to brush it under the rug with a vague PR statement, but it became a pop culture moment. Now, Beyoncé even references the altercation in her song Flawless remix, saying, "Of course sometimes go down when it's $1 billion on an elevator." Now, we still haven't found out the reason why Solange attacked Jay-Z, but fans have speculated that she was angry with his infidelity to Beyoncé, but nothing has ever been confirmed that was the reason why she attacked him. Now we have stealing songs. Beyoncé's album Renaissance was met with multiple critiques after its release. Just one day after the album dropped, Khalees slammed Beyoncé for using a sample of her 2003 hit song Milkshake, allegedly without her permission. On Instagram she wrote, "My mind is blown too because the level of disrespect and utter ignorance of all three parties involved is astounding. I heard about this the same way everyone else did. Nothing is ever as it seems. Some of the people in this business have no soul or integrity, and they have everyone fooled. It's not about me being jealous, it has to do with the fact from one artist to another that you should have the decency and common sense and courtesy to call. There are bullies and secrets and gangsters in this industry that smile and get away with it until someone says enough is enough." Khalees also called out producers Pharrell Williams and Chad Hugo at the same time. But it's clear that most fans just focused on her beef with Beyoncé. Though neither Beyoncé nor her team publicly commented on the post, they ended up removing the sample from the Spotify version of Energy in August 2022, but to this day you can still find it on Apple Music. Moving on to the Dubai performance. When Beyoncé returned to the stage for her first live performance in 5 years, it really left fans divided. Now, Now, to give you some background, her album Renaissance was labeled as a celebration of queer culture and made in collaboration with some of the LGBTQ community's biggest names. Now, it pays tribute to dance music that emerged out of the gay community and also references the 1800s drag ballrooms in Harlem, New York. So when the location for Beyoncé's long-awaited concert was revealed, it did not sit well with many of her fans. Now, she was reportedly paid around $25 million to perform at a star-studded private launch event for Dubai's Hotel Atlantis the Royal. While many fans rejoiced at Beyoncé's return to the stage, others pointed out the hypocrisy of performing in the UAE, where same-sex relationships are flat out illegal. Freelance music journalist Abigail Firth spoke to BBC News Beat about the controversy and pointed to the fact that Beyoncé's recent work is indebted to LGBT culture. She said, "It seems like a really misguided choice from her. She's obviously a multimillionaire anyway. She didn't really need to do this. She didn't really need the money." And that's probably where some of the backlash is stemming from as well. Then there's her rude lyrics. In August of 2022, Beyoncé announced that she would change the lyrics to her song Heated after backlash from disability rights activists. The track includes a slang term derived from an ableist word, which is considered a slur among people with cerebral palsy. Now, at the time, her team released a statement saying, "The word, not used intentionally in a harmful way, will be replaced." Not only that, but Beyoncé has also had other slip-ups with controversial lyrics. When her 2013 song Partition dropped, Monica Lewinsky complained about being in the song, which of course referenced her 1998 scandal. In an essay for Vanity Fair, she wrote, "Thanks Beyoncé, but if we're verbing, I think you meant Bill Clinton all on my gown." Now let's talk about the insensitive song. Speaking of inappropriate lyrics, this one got her in even more trouble. The song XO from Beyoncé's 2013 album begins with audio of NASA's officer talking about a major malfunction involving the Challenger space shuttle, which exploded just over a minute after its launch. 7 astronauts passed away in the tragic incident, so it seemed a little insensitive for Beyoncé to use the audio in her song. Now, in a statement to ABC News, the singer tried to explain that she intended for the audio to be a tribute to those who died aboard the Challenger. "My heart goes out to the families of those lost in the Challenger disaster," she said at the time. The song XO was recorded with the sincerest intention to help heal those who have lost loved ones and to remind us that unexpected things happen, so love and appreciate every minute that you have with those who mean the most to you. The songwriters included the audio in tribute to the unselfish work of the Challenger crew with the hope that they will never be forgotten. Now we have stealing performances. Beyoncé's 2011 Billboard Music Awards performance was one for the books, but it did cause some controversy. She did a rendition of Run the World Girls, but then she was accused of copying Italian singer Lorella Cuccari in a performance she did 1 year prior in 2010. They later explained being inspired by her, adding that she had no intentions of stealing her stunning visuals. "My makeup artist showed me the performance of Lorella Cuccari a year ago, and it inspired me so much. I then met with the talented people who worked on it. The technology and concept were so genius. Thank God for YouTube. Thank God for YouTube, or I would have never been exposed to something so inspiring. I've never worked so hard on anything in my life as that performance for the Billboard Awards," she told AOL Music following the backlash. But being inspired and directly copying, though, are two different things. Up next is stealing visuals. Beyoncé, Sony, Columbia, and the pop stars Parkwood Entertainment were all sued by indie filmmaker Matthew Folks over the visuals to her 2016 album Lemonade. Now, according to Matthew, Beyoncé jacked 9 scenes from his film Paranoia. He also claimed that he sent Parkwood Entertainment the short film, so he knows that several employees who worked on Lemonade had access to it. Now, 1 month after his June 2016 filing, Beyoncé's attorneys hit back, arguing visuals including graffiti and person with heads down, a parking garage, and side-lit ominous figures do not fall under copyright infringement. Now, they also argued that the narrative was completely different, as Lemonade dealt with portraying an African-American woman who progresses through stages of suspicion, denial, anger, and ultimately reconciliation in her relationship. Now, the US District Judge Jed Rakoff agreed, dismissing the suit in September 2016, but hey, I can see the similarities. And finally, we have Jay-Z's infidelity. Throughout Beyonce's and Jay-Z's relationship, there's been much speculation about them breaking up, cheating, and getting divorced. Though the couple have never directly addressed the claim, Beyonce pretty much confirmed it on her album Lemonade, with the lyrics including, "This is your final warning, you know I give you life, if you try this again, you gon' lose your wife, and he only want me when I'm not there, he better call Becky with the good hair." Yeah, this is her pretty much deciding to call him out for cheating, and he did. He confirmed it. He said, "I was really proud of the music she made, and she was really proud of the art I released, and you know, at the end of the day, we have a really healthy respect for one another's craft. I think she's amazing," Jay-Z told T Magazine in 2017. He said, "You know, most people walk away, and like divorce rate is 50% or something, cause most people can't see themselves. The hardest thing is seeing the pain on someone's face that you caused, and then having to deal with it yourself. We did the hard work of going to therapy, we love each other, so we really put in the work for years. I like to believe that we're in a better place today, and I'm proud of the father and husband that I am today."
First up, let's have a look at James Franco and Tyrese. An on-set fight nearly destroyed the careers of these two prominent actors. While both of them have gone on to have very successful careers in some of the most memorable movies in recent times, the time they spent working together couldn't have gone any worse. While they were filming Annapolis back in 2006, Franco and Tyrese would constantly get involved in verbal disputes with each other, and eventually things took a turn for the worse and got violent. Tyrese revealed in an interview that the pair of young actors actually got into a full-on fistfight on set and had to be separated by the film crew. Tyrese tried to tell his co-star to back off and lighten up, but Franco apparently wasn't going to back down. The fight was apparently so bad that production of the movie had to be halted for a full day to allow the two actors to collect themselves and put aside their differences. While they were able to push through and finish the movie, it was so obvious that the working relationship between Franco and Tyrese was completely over. It seems like there is a very good reason why these two actors never really reconnected after this terrible affair. Next is Viola Davis and Jared Leto. Viola Davis called out her co-star for being too much like the Joker. Yes, when Jared Leto was taking on the role of the Joker back in 2016, he was really taking the job a little too seriously. Now obviously it's good for an actor to stay in character so they don't lose their touch, but it sounds like Leto took things a little bit too far. His co-star Viola Davis claimed that Leto would stay in character the whole time they were filming, and he would continue his character's psychopathic tendencies off set. The catalyst in the strange behavior was when Jared Leto apparently sent a box of bullets to Viola Davis. This seemed like much more than a joke to Davis, to the point where she was actually worried for her own safety. She had no idea if there was any sort of subliminal message behind the strange package, and she even claimed that she nearly pulled out her pepper spray. Viola went on to clarify that she was incredibly tough and even got into a fight when she was younger, but this strange moment really affected her in a very dark way. There have been multiple disturbing cases of actors taking their roles too far. This also isn't the first strange thing that Jared Leto has ever done. Aside from his outlandish outfits, scaling the Empire State Building to promote his band, supposedly running a cult, this honestly might not have been the weirdest thing that Leto's ever done. Next is Sarah Jessica Parker and Kim Cattrall. Friends turned to enemies after some very hurtful words were exchanged. They may have appeared as best friends on TV, but the two were anything but that off screen. The feud apparently all started around pay. A 2008 report actually revealed that Cattrall approached the producers about a pay increase after she found out that SJP was making considerably more money for appearing on the exact same show. The two stars have taken jabs at each other online and in the press on numerous occasions. It sounds like it went well beyond an internet feud. It has also been reported that Parker had convinced the studio to write Cattrall's character out of the rebooted version of their famous TV series. Cattrall claimed that this was a lie and she didn't return for the reboot just because she didn't want to. She also stated that SJP had no control over her career and she could make her own decisions. Parker even tried to make amends with Cattrall in 2018 after the passing of Kim's brother, but even that didn't work. Parker passed along her condolences, but Cattrall stated that she was not her family or her friend and didn't want her sympathy. This was a really nasty feud that just never ended up finding a solution. After that is Vin Diesel and Dwayne Johnson. The Fast and Furious set was in turmoil after these two superstars nearly came to blows. Now it's no secret that the Fast Fast and the Furious is one of the biggest movie franchises of this generation. They have now generated over $7 billion in revenue over the last 20 years. But even with all the commercial success they were enjoying, two of the franchise's main stars became very agitated with each other on the set of the franchise's 8th film, The Fate of the Furious. Diesel and Johnson were apparently at odds throughout the duration of the movie's production, and The Rock even took to Instagram to publicly address his feelings about his co-star. He wrote that some of his co-stars conducted themselves as stand-up men while others just did not. He then went on to congratulate the entire crew after they wrapped up filming for the movie, but Diesel was noticeably absent from Johnson's post. Well, this didn't go over well with Diesel, who also happens to be a co-producer of the film. He clearly held all the power in this scenario and made sure The Rock was absent from the following sequels. It seems like they might have set aside their differences now, as The Rock's return was teased at the end of Fast 10. So we will just have to see if these guys could actually get along and get back to producing ridiculous over-the-top action. Up next is Sylvester Stallone and Richard Gere. These two Hollywood powerhouses nearly came to blows over a messy lunch. It turns out that Richard Gere was supposed to appear in Lords of the Flatbush with Sylvester Stallone. He was cast alongside the Rambo actor in the film, but things took a very nasty turn while they were working together on set. It was pretty obvious that the pair didn't really like each other from the get-go. The film crew was probably expecting them to just put their differences aside and get on with the filming. Well, as it turns out, that was not the case. Stallone really wasn't too fond of his co-star's attitude, and seems like Gere believed that he was better than everybody else. Stallone stated that he would strut around his oversized motorcycle jacket like he was the baddest knight at the round table. But things really got spicy when the actors were practicing a fight scene and Gere got carried away in the moment. Stallone told him to back off after Gere grabbed onto him violently, but Gere was completely stuck in his character. But the one moment that really pushed Stallone over the edge was when the pair got into a car to have their lunch. Stallone was eating a plain hot dog, but Gere was chowing down on a very greasy chicken. Sylvester warned his co-star that it was going to get messy, but Gere didn't listen and dripped grease onto Stallone's thigh. That's when Rambo pushed his co-star out of the car and gave the director an ultimatum. And as we now know, only Stallone appeared in the film while Gere was sent packing. Up next is Rachel McAdams and Ryan Gosling. One of the most captivating romance films in recent times almost never happened. While many people were blown away by the chemistry between the two actors in The Notebook, turns out the two stars had a pretty tough time coexisting when the cameras weren't rolling. Director Nick Cassavetes revealed that McAdams and Gosling had to work through some pretty tough times on set in order for the movie to be completed. He stated that the actors didn't really care for each other too much, and it created some serious issues during production of the movie. The director even revealed that at one point, Gosling had asked him if he could bring in another actress to read lines with. Gosling also claimed that McAdams just wasn't giving him anything that he could work with. It was impossible to build any chemistry. This caused Cassavetes to force the two actors into a closed-door meeting so they could work out their differences, and that ended up turning into an all-out screaming match. Well, it seemed like the screaming match actually worked on this occasion because they were able to return to filming and actually ended up dating each other in real life. Their working relationship, however, was pretty much over after The Notebook. After that, let's look at Leonardo DiCaprio and Clint Eastwood. An on-set feud has completely tainted the relationship between these two cinema icons. The legendary Hollywood figures have appeared in front of and behind the camera for some of the greatest movies of all time. However, an on-set feud during the filming of Eastwood's 2011 film J. Edgar resulted in a terrible hatred that has only been building ever since. While they were filming a scene where DiCaprio had to react to a bomb explosion, the actor was just not pleased with his reaction. DiCaprio asked if he could do a retake to improve on his performance, and that is where everything went downhill. Eastwood is very well known for his one-take method of directing, and declared that filming for the day was complete and walked off the set. Now, DiCaprio was so enraged by that incident that he turned down a role in another Eastwood film, and this left a very sour taste in the mouth of the legendary Hollywood creator. Both of these Hollywood icons have vowed to never work with each other again after this strange incident, but seems like the budding personalities were just never a good match for each other. Up next is Meryl Streep and Dustin Hoffman. Sometimes physical contact on set is just unacceptable. Meryl Streep is obviously a very well-known actress nowadays, and when she was just getting her start in the film industry, she had a very uncomfortable experience with Dustin Hoffman. Streep's first major film appearance was Kramer vs. Kramer with Dustin Hoffman, but things weren't always going according to plan on set. While the pair of actors were shooting the opening scene for the film, Hoffman decided to improvise with a very heavy slap across the face to Meryl Streep. Now, Streep obviously wasn't expecting this, and it sounds like it really hurt. Sure, Hoffman was just trying to emphasize his character's actions, but this was probably a little bit too far. But if that didn't cross the line already, he also used what Streep labeled emotional recall when he taunted her about her late partner John Cazale and his terminal illness. Streep was completely blown away by the strange encounter and found it really hard to forgive her co-star for this bizarre moment. And considering that this was only just the opening scene, we can only imagine that there were even more tense moments between the two actors on set. Up next is Charlie Sheen and Selma Blair. Charlie Sheen and drama really just go hand in hand. While Sheen was involved in plenty of controversies over the years that have earned him more than a few enemies, he ended up finding himself in yet another feud after starring in the sitcom Anger Management. Apparently, Sheen and his co-star Selma Blair did not see eye to eye on many topics, and this led to a ton of on-set altercations. While Blair was obviously not afraid to voice her displeasure with her co-star, it proved to be a rather risky move for her time as an actress on this show. In addition to being the show's lead actor, Sheen was also one of the series' producers, which meant that he held a lot of power over the show's casting and its direction. After various on-set fights and arguments between these two actors, it was announced that Blair's time on the series was finished and she would not be returning. Now, it was later revealed, however, that Blair had an issue with Sheen's work ethic and was not shy about letting him know. But instead of trying to work things out or actually improve on his performance, Sheen sent a flurry of angry messages to Blair letting her know that she was fired and she would never be welcomed back. And last but not least, the cast of Glee vs. Lea Michele. The Glee superstar's entire cast members turned on her after revealing that she was a terrible person to work with. Now, this was a show that captured the hearts of many across the world, but when the cameras weren't rolling, it was an incredibly tense affair. Samantha Ware absolutely ripped into Michele on Twitter, claiming her co-star made the working environment a living hell. She also claimed that Michele threatened to defecate in her wig at any given opportunity. Now, this obviously kickstarted some massive backlash against Michele, who lost brand sponsorships, and Ware wasn't the only person who had something to say about the Glee star. Heather Morris also stated that Michele was incredibly unpleasant to work with, and other Glee co-stars were even labeling her as a racist. Even Matthew Morrison, who played Mr. Schuester on the show, sort of alluded to the fact that Lea was incredibly difficult to work with. He didn't get into many details when asked about her on Fubar Radio, but he did say that you want to be a pleasant person to be around, and that's all I'm going to say about that. Michele did try to save face by issuing public apologies, but it was so obvious the damage was already done. This was something that she really just never recovered from in her career.
Starting off, we have Vin Diesel. While filming Fast and Furious 8, Dwayne Johnson shared a since-deleted Instagram post to criticize some of his male co-stars in 2016. Some conduct themselves as stand-up men and true professionals, while others don't, he wrote. Later, it was reported that this criticism was aimed at Vin Diesel, something Dwayne all but confirmed when he thanked pretty much everyone from the Fast and Furious franchise on Instagram, except for Vin Diesel. While The Rock later told Entertainment Tonight that the feud was the result of different philosophies, Vin, who typically seemed eager to shut down any talk of their feud, shed light on their relationship. Dwayne has only got one Vin in his life, he told USA Today, before explaining how he paved the way for Johnson as the first multicultural megastar in Hollywood. Dwayne Johnson only has one big brother in the film world, and that's me. I'm always rooting Dwayne on. Hey, he can support him from afar without wanting to work or be near him, which I think is the case here. Up next is John Cena. Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson was the face of WWE in the 90s until his Hollywood career took off, and John Cena had his own WWE takeover as The Rock switched to movies. Now, this then led to a feud between the two. Although they are best friends today, The Rock told Jimmy Kimmel that before John became one of his best friends, the former WWE rivals had real problems with each other. In 2011, John was mouthing off to fans about how The Rock hadn't been in the ring in 8 years, and questioned whether or not The Rock even cared about the business. John then got even more angry when The Rock didn't attend the 15th anniversary show or make an appearance at WrestleMania because he was filming. Now, The Rock says in an old clip that John was popping off at the mouth. Now, John said all of that, of course, before he himself began focusing on acting. He was asked about this retrospective hypocrisy in an interview with Gorilla Position a decade later, and he apologized, saying he was wrong. "I called him out as someone who had tunnel vision in the WWE and didn't understand the process that when you make a movie, you're not allowed to do anything else." But hey, at least they were able to make up. Then there's Randy Orton. Wrestler Randy Orton made it known that he didn't like The Rock when he was asked about an upcoming WrestleMania match between Dwayne Johnson and John Cena during a 2011 ESPN interview. After initially using the question to slam Johnson for stepping away from wrestling and focusing on acting, Randy criticized The Rock's abilities. "I think Cena is wittier and can go off the cuff. Cena writes his own stuff while The Rock has stuff written for him. It all just comes down to who you are in the ring and what kind of performer you are in the ring, and I think Cena is 10 times the performer in the ring than The Rock is." Ouch. Now later on recalling this interview, Randy revealed that he actually got in trouble for putting all that out there. Moving on to Kevin Nash. For those of you who don't know, there's a long-standing legend in wrestling that Kevin Nash wasn't thrilled with The Rock after he went off script during a promo. According to rumors, The Rock improvised the famous line, "Big Daddy bleep," which caught Kevin off guard. More importantly, Kevin allegedly felt that the insult made his character look weak. He went on to claim that Johnson tried to manage their matches too much, reportedly asking him, "What one thing do you want to do here?" Kevin, though, has more recently said that he respects Johnson, telling Daily DDT in 2019 that he credits The Rock for being the wrestler turned actor who opened the door for all of us to Hollywood. However, it seems clear that there was some bad blood between the two. Now we have Tyrese Gibson. When The Rock and Vin Diesel were fighting, Tyrese Gibson made it clear that he wasn't involved in any drama. In a now deleted post on Instagram, he explained how he felt about The Rock. "He's my brother, we have never had a problem and will never have a problem." Now that didn't last for too long though, as Fast and Furious 9 was pushed back a year, and shortly after it was revealed that The Rock had scored his solo spin-off, Hobbs and Shaw. Tyrese wasn't having any of this though, and he slammed him on Instagram for making the Fast and Furious franchise about you, and questioned whether it would be another #Baywatch, which was a rebooted movie that The Rock starred in that flopped at the box office. While Hobbs and Shaw would take the top spot at the box office though, Tyrese posted another public shot at Johnson for the movie's less than stellar opening weekend numbers compared to other Fast and Furious movies. But when the film started to pick up steam globally, Johnson made sure to let certain people know by tweeting, "Remember, the best way to shut the mouth of a clown is to flex with success and a smile." Tyrese later admitted regret over how he aired out his grievances, but he has yet to publicly apologize. Let's talk about Shawn Michaels. Now, it's not exactly clear what happened between Shawn Michaels and Dwayne Johnson, but there are a couple of different accounts that suggest these wrestling legends never really liked each other behind the scenes, which might explain why they never faced each other in the ring. Dave Meltzer of the Wrestling Observer newsletter suggested that the feud started when Shawn reportedly disrespected The Rock's promoter grandmother in the 80s. It's said that as The Rock was rising in the WWE ranks, Shawn did all he could to bring him down. But now that plan might have backfired. Now when The Rock became the WWE's biggest star and got to wrestle whomever he wanted, Shawn was never considered. "I was never ever interested in working with him, to be honest with you," Johnson told WWE.com. On to TJ Perkins. Professional wrestler TJ Perkins took a shot at The Rock on Twitter and, well, it didn't end well. When TJ was asked if there was a motto or quote he lived by every day, he gave an uncensored version of the Nike slogan, "Just effing do it." Now another follower then suggested a quote from The Rock himself, "Always be the hardest worker in the room." Now it's here that TJ appeared to give Johnson a jab, tweeting alongside a wink emoji that goes without question, but real ones don't say it out loud. Yeah, now The Rock didn't really appreciate that and made sure that TJ knew it. He tweeted in response by saying, "Yeah, that Rock fella has a big mouth. I've never heard of you, CJ, but I wish you the best of luck in the wrestling biz, champ." Then there's the Red Room cast and crew. This week, the entertainment news outlet The Wrap reported that The Rock was up to 8 hours late to set while filming the upcoming Christmas-themed action movie Red One, meaning that the crew had to shoot around him on some occasions. Now the outlet also reported that the Red One budget has grew way past $250 million as a result of several production issues, including The Rock's lateness. It also reported that he tried to save time on other sets by peeing in Voss water bottles, which upset some crew members. And yeah, no kidding. An anonymous source that The Wrap said knows the actor well said on set away from his trailer if he needs to pee, he doesn't go to the public bathroom, he pees in a Voss water bottle and his team or a PA has to dispose of it. Yeah. That sounds like an absolute nightmare. Next up is Ahmed Johnson. To say that Tony Norris aka Ahmed Johnson can't stain Dwayne Johnson would not be entirely accurate, but the former wrestler certainly hasn't been shy about sharing gossip about his colleague. In an interview with the Work and Punch Productions in 2016, Ahmed shed more light on his locker room scuffle with The Rock. "I didn't like the fact that he was getting a little too cocky for me, and we had a match coming up, matter of fact that same night. We was going to do the match and I was willing to do his high spots, but he wasn't willing to do all mine. We got into a little confrontation back there." And finally we have Rebecca Ferguson. Now this is just speculation, so don't take it to heart, but in 2024 Rebecca Ferguson claimed that an unnamed co-star screamed at her. On the Rain podcast, Rebecca explained, "I did a film with an absolute idiot of a co-star, and this human being was so insecure and angry because this person couldn't get the scenes out. I would cry walking off set. This person would look at me in front of the whole crew and say, 'You call yourself an actor? This is what I have to work with. What is this?'" Yikes. Now the internet has done some sleuthing to try to figure out who she was talking about, and one of the most popular theories was that she was talking about The Rock. Now Rebecca worked with him on the 2014 film Hercules. However, he was also the first person to publicly support her after the comments were made, stating on Twitter, "Hate seeing this but love seeing her stand up to BS. Rebecca was my guardian angel sent from heaven on our set. I love that woman. I'd like to find out who did this." But him making this statement actually made fans more suspicious of him, thinking he was covering up something. So, was it The Rock? I guess we'll never know, but some people are convinced that it was him.
Friends to foes? David Beckham and Mark Wahlberg's drama is a long-winded one. So the soccer legend filed a lawsuit against F45 Fitness, which the Oscar-nominated actor is part owner of. For context, Mark Wahlberg invested in the company in 2019 and became the chief branding officer in 2023. Now during that time, David Beckham entered into a promotional agreement with the fitness brand through his company, DB Ventures Limited. I think this was around 2021. But on April 21st, 2024, it was reported that David Beckham was suing F45 after claiming that he never received the $10 million he was offered in contract negotiations when partnering with the brand. The complaint said that the Australian-based fitness company agreed to pay Beckham $1.5 million a year, along with shares of stock in the company, which would be available to him 6 months and again 12 months after the company went public. However, the Inter Miami owner's attorneys alleged that the company failed to transfer and register the shares until about 8 months after the agreed upon date. His attorneys also said the shares were worth about $9.3 million less than they were in January of 2022. So Beckham is suing for $9.3 million for his loss of shares, plus an additional $5 million. Beckham is also seeking $4.5 million for payments he alleged he was to receive for the remainder of his term. Now, the company's lawyers have responded to Beckham's complaint in court documents, denying multiple allegations, and they claim that he has not fully performed his obligations. Until we know more, this seems like a mess where both guys might be in the wrong. So back when Mark was known as the famed rapper Marky Mark, he apparently got into it with Eminem of all people. So Eminem opened up on the feud, explaining that it all came to a head in 1999 on TRL. Speaking with Anthony Bozza in the book Whatever You Say I Am, The Life and Times of Eminem, he explained he was told by MTV that he was going to be on the show with Wahlberg, and they were like, he'd appreciate it if we don't call him Marky Mark. So Eminem recalled Wahlberg arriving and saying, "What, is there supposed to be some sort of effing tension here or something?" And Eminem was like, "I pretended like I don't hear him and whatnot, SHIT. Then we're on the air and I'm like, we'll just stand around here like one big fun bunch. So I threw a jab at him. Eminem and Wahlberg reportedly continued to have a dislike for one another as the years went on, but apparently this is all simmered out now. They settled it in 2017. In an issue of The Hollywood Reporter, Mark Wahlberg revealed that he used to have a feud with Leonardo DiCaprio. He says he almost did get cast in 1995's The Basketball Diaries because Leo wanted him off the court. Leo was like, "Over my dead effing body. Marky Mark's not gonna be in this effing movie." Wahlberg admitted he deserved that treatment. Because we'd had a thing. I didn't even realize it, but apparently I was a bit of a phallic thing to him at a charity basketball game. So he was like, "This effing a-hole is not going to be in this movie." But Wahlberg managed to impress the Growing Pains star with his acting chops. So I come in and I do the audition and I kind of look at him and he kind of looks at me, and then we do a scene and they're like, "This effing dude's pretty good, right?" Next thing you know, boom, we're hanging out. Meh. With all that we know about Leo's creepy dating practices, sounds like Mark was ready to butt heads with him from the get-go. So out of all the people in the world, Mark got into a fitness feud with famed TV personality Dr. Oz. The two got into it after Dr. Oz shared his thoughts on breakfast, saying that it isn't an essential meal, and explained his approach to intermittent fasting. Wahlberg, who was a big proponent of getting in a meal both before and after his early morning workouts, disagreed with Oz's perspective when asked about it by TMZ. And thus, a heated back and forth social media feud began. The men challenged each other to a workout to see if they could keep up with one another, despite their different viewpoints. And finally, Wahlberg shared that he and Oz met up face to face to do just that. He said, "I don't think he knew what he was getting himself into, but he was a trooper. I squashed him like a grape. Poor thing, he didn't know what was happening." Now, Dr. Oz has been proven to be a fraud time and time again, so that's not super surprising. So thanks for warning folks that he's hot air. One thing about Mark is that he is known for having a close-knit group of friends, one of which being Michael Jordan. And somebody who didn't know this? Kevin Hart. Hart and Wahlberg worked together on the film Me Time, which was not one of Wahlberg's many films to gross over $100 million at the box office. But apparently the guys had a great time together. But after Wahlberg found out that Hart had some unkind things to say about Jordan, an interview the two were in took a detour, and it was during this time that Wahlberg showed that he was not happy that Hart shaded his buddy. The beef between Hart and Jordan came to be when Hart did a stand-up comedy set at a charity event that Jordan was hosting. Between a bit too much booze, which is apparently one of his backstage requests before he does stand-up, and the need to get a laugh from the crowd, Hart went too far and might have permanently damaged his relationship with Jordan. He said, "Mike still might be mad at me. True story." So while he was doing the set, he's like, "Nobody's laughing." It got to the point where nobody's laughing. He's looking straight at me. He's actually giving me a look like, "You gonna keep on going? Like you ain't gonna stop?" "I don't care, I'm having a good time, I was laughing." Now Hart admitted, "I may or may not have been, well, under the influence at the time. I hit him with one more, and nobody says nothing." So it got over, and he went to go see him, and he's like, "What up, Mike? Hey." And Hart went on to say, he shook my hand, and he squeezed it real hard, and he was like, "You have a good day." Which is, never a good sign. In 2013, a series of leaked court documents suggested that Tom Cruise had compared working on a film to being as intense as fighting in the military. It's safe to say that the statement did not go down well with Mark Wahlberg. Later down the line, he was promoting his film, Lone Survivor, which was based on actual events of the failed 2005 mission, Operation Red Wings, where Mark played the role of a Navy SEAL. Now, when he was asked about the difficulty of shooting the film, he went on an angry rant, quoting, "For actors to sit there and talk about, oh, I went to SEAL training, and I slept on the, oh, I don't give an F what you did. For somebody to sit there and say my job was as difficult as somebody in the military's? How effing dare you? When you sit in a makeup chair for 2 hours?" He added that at the end of the day, actors get to go home, go to their hotel room, and order effing chicken. Now, Tom's lawyers jumped in very quickly and claimed that he was only joking. He's a very big supporter of the troops. But the tension was very real. Back in 2014, in a moment of elation following Rob Gronkowski's touchdown against the Oakland Raiders, Patriots owner Robert Kraft went out for a high five with his boxmate, yes, you guessed it, Mark Wahlberg, and his eager fingers met, well, the wind. Not only did Wahlberg decline to participate in the high five, he also snubbed not one, but 2 shoulder pokes from a desperate Kraft, who was left hanging. It seems that even the kind of rich guys whose collar and cuffs are a different color than the rest of their shirts shan't presume to high-five Lord Wahlberg. Of course, we don't know why he denied the high five. Maybe he was just really busy paying attention to football or something. The happening has been called one of the worst screw-ups of M. Night Shyamalan's career, and of course, being a part of the production also reflected badly on Mark Wahlberg. So it's no surprise that he trashed the movie relentlessly, even though he had the lead role. At first, the plot sounds like it had potential. It follows a Philadelphia high school teacher who tries to keep his wife safe during a global crisis in which plants spread a neurotoxin that causes humans to completely act out. But it was completely ridiculous. Wahlberg himself admitted that he had no idea what was happening in the happening. He just took the role because he was tired of playing tough guys. He said, "F it is what it is. Effing trees, man. You can't blame me for not wanting to try to play a science teacher. At least I wasn't playing a cop or a crook." Now, the director responded to the actor's criticism in 2019, and he really took the whole thing like a champ, saying it's totally his call, however he wants to interpret it. At least he has a good attitude about it. Family relationships can be complicated, and this is no different for high-profile celebrities as well. While internal politics between family members escape public scrutiny, if you're an ordinary person, big league Hollywood stars don't have the luxury of privacy, be it rumors or otherwise. So despite having music and acting careers and their Wahlberg's food empire, Donnie and Mark, Yes, they have their separate things, they have their restaurants, but they also don't have a lot of love for each other. In August of 2014, when Donnie was set to marry Jenny McCarthy, TMZ revealed that Mark and his wife wouldn't be attending the wedding. Now, there was a lot of speculation. Is it like, are you not fans of the bride? Nope, it just turns out that the brothers aren't super duper close, and there's a lot of badness there. And finally for today, Mark appeared on The Conan Show years ago and revealed his daughter's obsession at the time with now former boy band One Direction. He was like, okay. Now, Mark being Mark, he threatened to knock the crap out of the young and blessed Harry Styles. Like, he legitimately tweeted out, if Styles doesn't watch out, he's gonna risk getting a black eye or two. Yep, those were the days when celebrity chatter on social media was very much unregulated. Mark told Conan, my 4-year-old's going, Daddy, I like Harry. And I'm like, well, I'm gonna punch Harry in the nose when I see him. He continued to say that she pulls out pictures of Harry Styles and she's hiding the pictures in her room, and he pretends he's ripping them up and he gets jealous. And I saved his quote unquote best line for last, but if I see that little prick, he's gonna get it. Lovely. Now, I think the most endearing part of this feud was Styles' retaliation. The UK's Daily Star reported that Harry thought this conversation was an absolute hoot, so he sent Wahlberg and his family a very special invite. Now, what did he do? Well, he sent them tickets to a show, which was, I think, super fun. Kim Kardashian recently shared how she makes sure her kids aren't finishing all their Halloween candy. In an appearance on Jimmy Kimmel Live ahead of her American Horror Story Delicate Part 2 finale, the 43-year-old reality star and entrepreneur shared with Kimmel what it was like growing up next to Madonna in her childhood and adult years, and what it's like trick-or-treating with the Material Girl singer. Kimmel's like, I would imagine this is like a celebrity neighborhood, but like, you've got good candy, right? Kim was like, yes, and then Kimmel was like, Madonna allowed her kids to eat candy? She seems very healthy. And Kim was like, yeah, absolutely, she's very healthy. But I mean, I take it and then I throw it away, or I donate it. Kimmel was like, okay, so if you take away your kid's candy, next time videotape it. I'd like to have it. Kind of a hobby of mine, which obviously he was referring to his viral segment where every year, the day after Halloween, parents videotape their kids, telling them they ate all their candy, they send him the video, he plays it, and people laugh, or so I'm told. Apparently with fame comes the right to be slobs, at least according to the Kardashian housekeepers, who claim the girls never clean up after themselves, yet expect their rooms and closets to always be camera ready. Well, there's no doubt that the Kardashian women are busy with their multiple shows, their families, numerous business ventures. Some folks have argued that they don't have the right to be so demanding of the housekeepers who help to tend their homes, which I agree. This even led to a lawsuit in 2021, as reported by NBC News, with 7 workers, not 1, not 2, but 7, claiming that Kim Kardashian failed to pay overtime, cover expenses, and provide legally mandated breaks, while expecting her housekeepers to always be on call to pick up after her. Look, if you want luxury services, you've got to pay luxury prices. That's how it is. You've got to pay overtime. You got to pay expenses. You have to provide breaks. Legally mandated for a reason. Shayna Moakler, Travis Barker's ex-wife, went on a podcast and claimed that Kim Kardashian hooked up with him, which is a major bombshell considering Travis is now married to Kim's sister Kourtney. Not only that, but there was allegedly cheating involved. Yeah, Shayna claimed that Travis was seeing Kim behind her back and that Kim played a major part in the breakdown of their marriage. Now, this was during an appearance on the Dumb Blonde podcast, and Shayna revealed that she and Travis were working on their relationship when she was sent text messages between him and Kim from some anonymous source. What did those text messages say? They were trying to meet up at her sister's house to do the deed. Now, apparently when she showed the text to Travis, he had already deleted them. So yeah, she had reason to be suspicious. But what people can't seem to get over about this story is the fact that Travis might have been interested in Kim before he was into Kourtney. And that's something that would promote hurt feelings all around. But like, is Kim Kardashian really a homewrecker? Would she really go after her sister's man and not put it on TV? I don't know. Sounds unlikely to me. I feel like this should have been a storyline of some sort on Keeping Up with the Kardashians. They say that as you get more and more famous, you get more and more lonely and isolated. Like, Kim K used to have a lot of high-profile celebs on her list of friends. We're talking Beyonce, even Taylor Swift for a hot minute. But her former assistant Stephanie revealed that Beyonce and Kim had quite the feud and often badmouthed each other, which hasn't become like super known because they did it privately in their homes. Stephanie also said that Kim has a hard time keeping friends because she thinks she's better than everybody else, and she tries to be better than everybody else too. Let's see, we've got a whole list of people that she's cut off over the years. Jordan Woods, Blac Chyna, and Drake. It's easy to judge someone who has a big ego, but would any of us act different in Kim's situation? Most of us will ever know, but like, why would you think you're better than your friends? According to a March 2023 Bloomberg Businessweek report, Kim was questioned by the feds as part of this crazy investigation into the big Malaysian financier. I think his name is Zhou Lo, who was a mogul at the center of the big infamous 1MDB fund embezzlement scandal. So US prosecutors alleged that Lo had stolen at least 4.5 billion from One Malaysia Development Berhad, which was founded and led by a former prime minister. The Justice Department indicted Lo in 2018 for conspiring to launder billions of dollars stolen from the development fund and paying out hundreds of millions of dollars in bribes. And since then, he's been like a fugitive. I think he's living in China. In 2019, Kim told the FBI that she once played Baccarat in a Las Vegas casino with Lo and others, and she ended up winning big. Now, he told her, "Keep your chips," which were worth $350,000. And she told the FBI that when she went to the casino counter to cash out, she was handed $250,000 in a trash bag full of $100 bills. So she put the trash bag full of cash in her carry-on bag and boarded a Southwest Airlines flight back to LA. Once again, sketch. On a later trip to Vegas, Kim collected the remaining $100K, again, in a trash bag. Look, I don't know a lot of big gamblers, but this sounds sketchy. Don't you think? Let me know in the comments. The Kardashians are known to take many extravagant vacations and ventures, and one memorable visit to Bora Bora on Keeping Up with the Kardashians, people will know about it. While there, Kim reportedly lost her diamond earrings, leading the whole family to search the water for her prized jewelry. Naturally, losing something of such great worth and importance brought plenty of viewers in and sparked a lot of discussion online about the episode. Everybody was worried, where's Kim's earring? Seriously, like, there's people who have never seen a whole episode of the show, but if you quoted them, "Kim, there's people dying," they'd roar laughing. I'm not even a super fan. I quote it all the time. But the problem here, according to RadarOnline.com, Kim's ex-husband, Chris Humphries, said it didn't actually happen. Kim didn't lose her earrings. The move was a publicity stunt to get views. While this surely wasn't the only time Keeping Up with the Kardashians created a false moment, the lost earrings are a prime example of the lack of reality in the reality show. It also shows viewers should reserve judgment and sympathy when something happens on the show, since it might be fabricated for views, which is something we'll talk about more in a moment. We all know reality TV is quasi-scripted by this point in our lives. If you didn't, my bad. But like, when something is this heavily scripted, it's just annoying. When you hear about the Kardashians, you probably automatically assume they're entitled divas, and sadly, you're not wrong. Reports have surfaced that the Kardashians, especially the younger generation, were very kind to the camera crew when Keeping Up with the Kardashians first started in 2007. But as the show progressed, the family got a lot more famous, their kindness and respect for the crews they worked with dwindled, causing unpleasant and unfriendly moments, to say the least, behind the scenes. Ah yes, when fame and money reveal people's true colors. According to The Sun, the Kardashians repeatedly berate crew members and make unreasonable demands on anybody in their path. Additionally, the girls often try to direct what happens or demand multiple reshoots of simple moments on the show to place themselves in the best light they can, at the expense of the rest of the family and crew. Well, after learning how poorly they treat their staff, this probably isn't like a big surprise revelation to anybody, but like it's not a good thing, and probably something the girls want to keep under wraps. One of the most talked about events of Keeping Up with the Kardashians was Kim's extremely short-lived marriage to Chris Humphries. This marriage lasted less than 3 months and commanded headlines for like months if not years following the split. The whole situation was awkward and Humphries reportedly felt betrayed by Kim, feeling that the marriage was all in the name of ratings. The 72-day wedding will forever live on in infamy. And when you consider there's no such thing as bad publicity, I guess it was a boon for the girls. Why would they waste all that time and money? No. Why would you waste all that time and money if it wasn't gonna work out? Who knows? According to the Washington Post, the marriage was meant for just PR, just to drive awareness and ratings for the show. In fact, Kim wanted her goodbye to Humphries to be on the show, but producers were like, it's a little much. These days, Humphries wants nothing to do with the family and has asked to be completely omitted from Keeping Up with the Kardashians. Sorry dude, wish you all the best away from this circus. This is probably one of the worst kept secrets, but it's worth mentioning. So easily one of the most controversial moments in the Kardashian saga is the release of Kim's intimate tape with Ray J. When the tape was first leaked, Kim sued the company to keep it out of the public eye. But a lot of folks have pointed out that Kim has made an impressive $5 million from the home movie. And it's possible that this leak was a publicity move. In fact, Ray J himself said it was Kim's mom, Kris, who actually released the tape. A lot of people believe the release by Kris was meant to drive attention to the family, and it worked. Only 6 months after the tape was leaked, Keeping Up with the Kardashians premiered with strong viewership. For her part, Kris did do a lie detector test on The Late Late Show with James Corden and said she had nothing to do with the leak. But like, who's gonna trust a lie detector test on a talk show? Also, who trusts James Corden? As one might expect from a reality TV show these days. Yes, I've already said it, not everything you see is real. And a lot of the events on Keeping Up with the Kardashians were staged, including Kourtney's vicious vocal battles with Scott. It's just bonkers. According to the New York Daily News, once the camera stopped rolling, the duo would laugh about the filmed fights and the drama, and they would discuss how it would drive viewership up. That being said, it's also been revealed that Scott has faced serious addictions, leading some folks to wonder if the fights on the show were real, they were scripted, they were a mixture of both, just playing off of the original fights. The assumptions made were, well, maybe the fights being fake was a cover-up for how serious the issues were in the relationship. Regardless, there's no denying the tension these fights created among fans of the show. The duo ended up splitting for good in 2015, and Kourtney is now married to the famous musician Travis Barker. I guess we'll just never know what's real, what's calculated with the Kardashian family.
Mark Wahlberg is making headlines for David Beckham's lawsuit against him, but that is just one more controversy on a long list that often gets overlooked. His first noted transgression happened almost 4 decades ago in 1986. Wahlberg and his friend group at the time had a civil rights injunction issued for them because they were throwing things and yelling racially insensitive words. Then 2 years after that, he proved he could be worse, acting in an aggressive manner towards 2 Vietnamese men. He was sentenced to 2 years for that one, served 45 days. 1992 was the incident with his neighbor. Then there was the pay scandal from 2018 when he worked on All the Money in the World. He got $1.5 million for the reshoots. Michelle Williams got $1,000. He did donate his portion after the backlash, which that was good. Still, his track record is an interesting one, and these are just the things we know about. Wahlberg has said though that he has spent the better part of his life trying to make up for his past wrongs. Most of Hollywood seems to want us to believe that paparazzi are out, just roaming like vultures, just waiting to snap the perfect photo, and that's not always true. Sometimes paparazzi might spontaneously be at a location if it's a known celebrity hub, or a hotel before a premiere, or a popular celebrity's house, or even a star-studded town like LA. But those random shots of people leaving the grocery store in the middle of nowhere, or some random coffee shop, those might not be as authentic as we are made to believe. Turns out paparazzi are sometimes called to a location, whether that's just to get some pictures of new talent out there or to help set up a PR stunt. A paparazzi that regularly works with the Kardashians shared that Kim Kardashian sometimes texts him her location, even flying her favorite paparazzi around the world with her to get those perfect, glamorous, candid shots. Sure, some pictures of celebrities are definitely the real caught off guard thing, but definitely not all of them. Rebecca Ferguson may have let us know about a particularly nasty encounter with a castmate, but she is keeping their name out of the headlines, for now at least. Ferguson is in the film Dune 2, which just had its press tour. It was during an interview with Josh Smith on the tour that Ferguson revealed the shocking info that she was once screamed at on set by a co-star. The case was taken up by internet sleuths in no time, theories all over social media about who it could have been. Ferguson has chosen to keep that part to herself. She has since expressed that she shared the story mainly because it was a turning point in her perception of herself and her career, and wanted to share the story because it fit the question Smith had asked her. Still, people are angry about the way she was treated and what was said to her. The unnamed co-star allegedly yelled, "You call yourself an actor? This is what I have to work with? What is this?" Ferguson shared that though it did hurt in the moment, it was the first time she stood up for herself on a set, telling the person to get off her set and F off, and that she never wants to see them again. Since we don't know who she is talking about, we don't know if she never saw them again, but hopefully not. For the longest time, Britney Spears was hiding some pretty dark secrets, but not because she wanted to. During the pandemic, people began noticing something was up with Spears, and soon people started to piece together the restrictive nature of her conservatorship. The news of how her father basically, allegedly, controlled every aspect of the singer's life rocked the internet and led to a large social media outcry to free Britney. The star allegedly had little control over her finances, family life, and just her life in general. Her book, The Woman in Me, dropped in 2023 and revealed more interesting stories and secrets about the singer's life. One particular story about how she got pregnant took the internet by storm. While Britney and Justin Timberlake were dating, she got pregnant with his baby, but felt she couldn't keep the child even though she really wanted to. Justin Timberlake just didn't feel ready to be a father, so Britney felt forced to end the pregnancy. In her book she wrote, "If it had been left up to me alone, I never would have done it, and to this day it's one of the most agonizing things I have ever experienced
experienced in my life. The book highlighted that being the most popular person in the world is not everything it's cracked up to be, and Britney's story showcased just how controlled Hollywood stars might be. Madonna is a bit of a wild child now and no stranger to controversy, but she hasn't always had the easiest time. She's got a pretty rough history with ex-husband Sean Penn. Penn was accused of acting rudely towards the Material Girl singer during their marriage. The breaking point in the marriage happened when Penn allegedly tied Madonna to a chair and left. She sat for 9 hours. She did escape and managed to get to a police station to file a complaint. Penn was charged, but Madonna ended up pulling the complaints and instead filed for divorce, leaving the marriage with "May God bless and keep him, but far, far from me." Sean Penn's career may have suffered briefly, but he's still very active in Hollywood and has been in multiple big films over the years since the 1988 incident. Ashton Kutcher and Mila Kunis tried to keep this secret as hidden as possible, much to the disappointment of their fans and the internet in general. Kutcher and Kunis starred on That 70s Show alongside Danny Masterson. Masterson was found guilty of acting inappropriately towards 2 women and will spend 30 years behind bars for his behavior. Great news to the average person. It was great news that he was even going to trial. It seems the news wasn't so awesome to Kutcher and Kunis, as the pair penned letters to the judge handling Masterson's case asking for leniency. The internet did not appreciate their efforts and was quick to put the actors in their place, so much so that they posted an apology video to Instagram. Alfred Hitchcock's legacy has shielded some of his more deranged actions from the public's consciousness in the decades since he has passed. Many hear the name and recall amazing films expertly put together, but the expert has truly insane ways of achieving what we get to see on the screen. It might surprise you, or not surprise you at all, to learn that the methods of creating his horror movie The Birds were just as horrific as the movie. Lead actress of the film, Tippi Hedren, shares a particularly harrowing story in her 2016 memoir Tippi. She writes about the day they were going to film the famous scene where her character is attacked by birds in the bedroom. Tippi shares that she was told the birds in the scene were going to be robotic. However, on the day of the shoot, she found out from the assistant director that the mechanical birds weren't working, so they had no choice but to use live birds. No choice? Really? Okay. This led to a brutal experience for the actress. 5 days of filming the scene where live birds were thrown at her. Tippi describes the ordeal as brutal and ugly and relentless, but it was going to get worse. On the final day, Hitchcock decided to tie the birds to her while she was laying on the floor, and once action was called, the birds started to peck. It wasn't until one nearly got her eye that she stopped it all and was doing so bad she had to go on a doctor's mandated week of rest. Judy Garland is forever immortalized as the cheerful, sweet Dorothy in The Wizard of Oz, but the Ruby Red legacy is hiding a lot more heartache than anyone could have guessed. She didn't have an amazing relationship with her mother, and her schedule while working for MGM was always packed. Days started early and sometimes ended in the early morning of the next day. This led to Garland needing some outside assistance to keep on her feet, the kind of thing that would plague her for the rest of her life. The set of The Wizard of Oz looked magical, but it was no place for a girl. She was placed on a strict diet so she could look as small as possible so she would appear as young as possible. She endured poor treatment from studio execs and other actors throughout her career before passing away in 1969. Another example of a young star that was kept under close watch is Jeanette McCurdy. She is also another example of a celeb who used a book to discuss her complicated feelings surrounding growing up famous. McCurdy's book, I'm Glad My Mom Died, does contain plenty of stories about her mom's treatment of her, which we will get to, but it also contained insider info on the experience of child stars. McCurdy writing that she felt her whole childhood and adolescence was very exploited. She shared that even years later, after being kind of out of the spotlight, she still feels the effects. She writes, "It still gives my nervous system a reaction to say it. There were cases where people had the best intentions and maybe didn't know what they were doing, and also cases where they knew exactly what they were doing. Most people hope that if a child is going to be entering the workforce of Hollywood so young, they would have a good parent at their side. Unfortunately, Jeanette's book highlights that this isn't always the case. She shares stories of times she wished her mom had stepped up more, like when she had felt pressured into doing a bikini photo shoot when she wasn't yet 18. McCurdy continues to share situations that young stars might be put in by adults, including one in which McCurdy was offered an adult drink by someone she referred to as the creator. Jeanette shared that whenever she would bring up how she felt uncomfortable with something, she would receive the comment, everyone wants what you have. The way young stars are treated in Hollywood is a profoundly uncomfortable topic, one that was just touched on in the landmark Quiet on Set documentary about Nickelodeon. One of the major stories that was told was that of Drake Bell. Without going into too many details, Bell was one of the biggest young actors Nickelodeon had. He was in a few different shows, mainly Drake and Josh, but would do guest appearances on other shows. He was a big deal. He was known for his outgoing, bright personality. So it came as a big shock to the world to hear about everything he was dealing with behind closed doors in the documentary. A dialect coach that worked with Nickelodeon had been acting inappropriately towards the young actor for an extended period of time. The coach did go to court, but in the opinion of many, did not get an adequate punishment for his behavior. Bell had kept the secret to himself for many years, but has now felt okay enough to share his experience.